where it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way, while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but free people, look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay? You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations, allows for the construction of these policies and practices and systems and structures that continue to oppress us. This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of his time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million, and then of that, the descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I got to show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR roof, don't tune in.
We are back. This is in the news. Unfortunately, we have another Ashe to report. The brother Takeoff, member of rap group Migos, fatally shot outside private party in Houston, police say. Brother Takeoff, his full name, Kirshnik Kari Ball, was born June 18th, 1994 in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Transitioned on November 1st, 2022 in Houston, Texas. Takeoff, who was 1/3 of the platinum-selling rap group Migos, was shot and killed early Tuesday in Houston, Texas, authorities said. He was 28. Police received a call of a shooting in progress around 2:34 a.m. local time. Houston Police Department Chief Troy Finner said at a news conference Tuesday, officers arrived to the 810 Billiards and Bowling Houston, where there was a private party, and found a dead man at the scene. It looks like some artists, Ja Rule, Keke Palmer, and more give them their respects to the brother, pay tribute to him. And since looks like 2018, gun violence has killed at least one rapper every year.
That number seems low to me.
Yeah, it probably is lower than
I mean, it seems like
is.
I'm hearing something every other week.
Yeah. So I'll shade to that, brother. I'll shade to that, brother.
Yeah, gone too soon. 1994. Hate to see it. Rest in power. Let's see here. North Korea fires suspected ICBM, warns U.S. against dangerous choices. Residents in Japan told to shelter after launch. South Korea, U.S., to extend vigilant storm exercises. North Korea fired as many as 5 other missiles. Pyongyang says extending drills irresponsible, wrong. Okay, November 3rd. North Korea fired multiple missiles into the sea on Thursday, including a possible failed intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, prompting the United States and South Korea to extend air drills that have angered Pyongyang. And I'm sure
I'm sorry, I had to look. Hey, I'd have been, you probably said even worse than you, but good luck on that one.
Pyongyang. An initial Japanese government warning that an apparent ICBM had flown over the country triggered alarms for some residents to seek shelter. Tokyo later said the warning about the missile flying over Japan was incorrect.
All right, so looks like the Democratic Republic's artisanal cobalt mines tainted by lack of compliance. All right, in a huge pit in Shabara. I'm sorry.
Shabaranks.
Shaba.
Let me go on mute.
Nah, you don't have to go on mute. Nah, it's all good. You can interject. This is what ITN is about with ETN Media Group, right? This is how we do. Shaba all the way. I was just thinking about Shaba. Okay, here we go. In a huge pit in Shabara, in southeastern Democratic Republic of Congo, thousands of illegal miners work daily to dig out rocks containing the speckled blue gold core, cobalt. The country holds over 70% of world supply of this key ingredient in rechargeable batteries, electric cars, and mobile phones. It is estimated that some 200,000 people works as informal diggers in country's cobalt mines in flagrant violation of its laws. The mining at Shabara has been carrying on for years in defiance of the site's owner, a subsidiary of mining and commodities giant Glencore. So-called artisanal miners says that they can make equivalent of $200 on a good week, which is a small fortune in a country where most live on under $2 a day. Here, where independent everyone comes, works independently, goes to sell the ore at the trading center, and makes money. Compared to other mining area where I've worked, here I work in order, says Antoine de la Monga. But the sector's image is tainted by artisanal mining, with accusations of child labor, dangerous working conditions, and corruption. Normally, when you produce and export, you have to pay a fee, but when it is not declared, nothing can be paid on it. Hence the importance of being able to set up procedures that can guarantee traceability from upstream to downstream to ensure that these flows become compliant, says Tasi Impanu, who is working on the formalization of artisanal cobalt mining. Need to clean up the sector's image. However, government attempts to clear up the illegal mines are at a near standstill. David Sturman, Director of Corporate Engagement and Strategic Partnerships at Fair Cobalt Alliances, says that the situation is a lose-lose one for all. Artisanal mining occurs on industrial concessions, so legally speaking, they are infringing on industrial miners' territory. This makes it difficult for industrial miners to engage. The mining code doesn't allow for them to purchase from artisanal miners or allow them on their concessions, but international human rights conventions don't allow them to pick them off either. Under Congolese law, artisanal diggers are only allowed to work in government designated zones and as part of approved cooperatives, but most diggers say that designated areas are unviable and prefer to work on industrial concessions with identified deposits. Despite fluctuations in global practices, analysts say the metal's future is strong, given demand from the energy transition. Sturmes says this means that mining firms and the illegal diggers share a common interest in cleaning up Congolese cobalt's tainted image.
Okay, what exactly is cobalt? Makes it so important here. Cobalt statistics and information. Cobalt is a metal used in numerous diverse commercial, industrial, and military applications, many of which are strategic and critical. On a global basis, the leading use of cobalt is rechargeable battery electrodes, super alloys, which are used to make parts for gas turbine engines, and another major use for cobalt. Cobalt is also used to make airbags in automobiles, catalysts for petroleum and chemical industries, cemented carbides, also called hard metals, and diamond tools, corrosion and wear-resistant alloys, drying agents for paint, varnishes and inks, dyes and pigments, ground coats for porcelain enamels, high-speed steels, magnetic recording media, magnets, and steel belted radial tires. Cobalt is the most expensive raw material used for building lithium-ion batteries. Lithium-ion batteries are used in smartphones, laptops, and electric vehicles. In the past year, the price of refined cobalt has been above $20,000. Also, in the past 5 years, the demand for this element from the battery sector has tripled and is projected to double again by 2020.
Yeah, that section was written actually in 2016.
So, I mean, do you think they're going to be able to clean up their tainted image, or is it just going to be business as usual so they can keep this mass production up for as cheaply as possible?
Well, you know how capitalism goes. So I think everybody listening can come to their own conclusions. But what I'm tripping off of is the refined cobalt has been above $20,000. I mean, if I was an investor, which I haven't really invested in minerals, and I think people probably should, but like I'd want to, you know, I mean, if you're a conscious person, you might be like, I might not want to do that because, you know, just because of labor practices. And,
yeah, I was going to say, so that, I mean, doesn't that make you at least complicit in these inhumane actions?
Yeah, I guess we're all complicit in a way because we use cell phones.
My phone is over here beeping right now. So, yeah, I mean, but hopefully they'll be able to regulate the industry. But I can see why the increase, especially here in California, with our mandate to have electric vehicles by 2035, and that is cobalt is also a component used in making those as well. So let's see how it goes.
Well, speaking of car manufacturers,
electric car manufacturers,
specifically electric car manufacturers, Elon Musk will begin laying off Twitter staffers Friday, days after his $44 billion takeover. In an email to staff members obtained by NBC News, Twitter said it would be reducing our global workforce on Friday. Twitter will lay off staff members Friday, it said in an email obtained by NBC. In the email sent Thursday evening, Twitter said it would notify staffers by email about their employment starting Friday morning. Quote, "We recognize that this will impact a number of individuals who have made valuable contributions to Twitter. But this action is unfortunately necessary to ensure the company's success moving forward," the email said. It had been widely reported that Musk planned to slash the company's 7,500 person payroll after he finalized his $44 billion acquisition late last week. He immediately dismissed CEO Parag Agrawal, as well as Twitter's chief financial officer and his head of legal, public policy, and trust and safety upon taking over the company. Well, family, if you have any of those skill sets, I'm sure they'll be hiring shortly. So, Friedman, go after it. You might become the next CEO of Twitter.
Good luck. Good luck. All right, so here's someone who ain't got to worry about losing a job. Sacramento City manager to earn $400,000 salary after council votes to raise his pay. Sacramento City Manager Howard Chan is getting a raise. Following a more than 2-hour closed-door meeting, the council voted 8-1 to give Chan a 7.5% raise Tuesday, which will increase his base salary from $372,700 to $400,652. Councilwoman Katie Valenzuela voted against the raise, voicing concerns that the council had recently given several city unions smaller raises. Recent contract for police and firefighters, for instance, included a 3.5% raise. I'm not looking at this through Howard as a person and his dedication, but this is a significant amount of money, Valenzuela said. It would be different if we hadn't just given our unions less than half of that amount. Chan's base salary is the second highest in the state after Santa Clara City Manager Rajiv Batra, who makes $400,048 and $492, according to the state controller's office. 4 California city managers earned more than him last year when bonuses and other incentives are included. Chan's new income that includes such items will be $456,994, city spokesman Tim Swanson said. Council members Angelique Ashby, and she's running for a legislative seat if anyone cares, and Jeff Harris and Rick Jennings spoke in favor of Chan. Yes, it's a lot of money, and I think he deserves every penny of it. So I'm happy to support this, Harris said. Jennings agreed. I can't think of a better partner to have on my team, he said. Neither Chan nor Mayor Darrell Steinberg spoke. It's the second time the council has given Chan a raise in a year and a half. In May 2021, the council unanimously approved a 21% raise, bringing Chan's base salary from $308,000 to $372,700. He did not receive a raise in 2020, the year of the pandemic struck. Under Chan's leadership, the city weathered the pandemic without significant cuts or service disruptions and opened a new convention center and performing arts center downtown. Since 2018, the city has opened 1,100 homeless shelter beds and spaces costing $37 million annually. Chan's new salary is effective in February. He will also receive $500 per month for auto, $100 per month for cell, and $400 as a monthly expense allowance. As of June, Steinberg's base salary is $158,652, while the other 8 council members make $99,317. So, for one, I mean, Sacramento is plagued with problems right now. The homelessness situation, this article even states it itself, 1,100 beds costing the city $37 million annually.
Yeah, where's that coming from?
That's egregious.
That's really egregious. And where are these beds at, yo? I mean, because I see tents all up and down Sacramento. That's all I know. Especially in downtown and other parts down the freeway off the 80. You be like, my gosh.
Right. The problem has not gotten better under Chan's leadership. It has gotten worse. So
It's gotten a lot worse. And he's up here getting a raise? Like, what?
right, $400,000 closed session meeting. And it doesn't even say it in this article, but part of his package is a 96 paid days off.
Man.
So this is our tax dollars at work, family, out here in Sacramento. Come get us, somebody.
Well, speaking of California, and I definitely have my 2 cents about this. So, but anyway, let's go read the article, which I guess segues into the Chan guy, city manager of Sacramento. Newsom rejects every California city's homelessness plan in stinging rebuke. Governor Gavin Newsom has issued a blanket rejection of local California government's plans to curb homelessness, putting on hold hundreds of millions of dollars in aid, a sharp rebuke to how cities and counties are tackling the metastasizing issue. Californians demand accountability and results, not settling for the status quo, Newsom said in a statement Thursday. The governor's sweeping repudiation channeled profound public frustration with the prevalence of California's homeless population. More than 113,000 people sleep outdoors on any given night in the state, according to the state estimates. Encampments have become commonplace, spurring Democrats to move more aggressively on clearing people from public spaces. The visibility and scale of homelessness in California have exposed Newsom and other Democratic leaders to relentless criticism. Conservative media outlets regularly broadcast images of people living on the streets while portraying San Francisco and Los Angeles as failed cities. Newsom has budgeted billions of dollars to help local governments move people into permanent housing, but the governor said on Thursday that local plans to secure those funds fell woefully short, estimating they would collectively reduce homelessness by a mere 2% over the 4 years. The governor informed mayors about his plans on Wednesday night and said he intended to convene local officials later this month. At this pace, it would take decades to significantly curb homelessness in California. This approach is simply unacceptable. Everyone has to do better, cities, counties, and the state included, he said. Big city mayors pushed back on Newsom's decision, arguing it came with little notice and undermined their efforts. Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, whose city has previously clashed with Newsom over homelessness funding, said in a statement that she was perplexed. San Francisco Mayor London Breed accused Newsom of creating more hoops for local governments to jump through without any clear explanation of what's required. The state has decided to abruptly withhold funds that we have been planning around and that will actually make a difference in our communities, all without any warning or conversations or opportunities to address their concerns, Breed said. While we welcome accountability, now is not the time to delay funds that will help get people off the street. All right. Yeah. I mean, y'all ain't done nothing anyway.
Exactly.
I don't know where's this money going. So y'all want to, go ahead.
No, I'm agree. I'm just over here parroting everything you're saying. Where the money at?
I mean, it's the state is in deplorable financial distress, and basically if it wasn't for the federal government basically helping out the whole nation, I don't know where California would be financially right now, because I don't even know what these local governments are doing with the money. I mean, especially in these larger cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, the Bay Area.
Well, in Sacramento, you see where the money's going. They're giving each other fat raises.
Boom.
So yeah, we'll see what happens here. But yeah, where's the money going? $1,100 beds for $37 million. I mean, the math is not math, and they could have bought everybody houses for that money.
Thank you. 37 million for 1,100 beds?
Yeah. No wonder
bro.
Newsom had to cut off the spigot.
Word.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, here's some possible help on the way. Biden admin distributing $4.5 billion to help with home heating costs. Here's how to apply for assistance. The funds will be distributed to states, territories, and tribal governments this week. And this article was written on November the 3rd, 2022. Billions of dollars in federal aid is being made available to help Americans with their heating bills through the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP. The Biden administration said Wednesday that roughly $4.5 billion has been allocated for LIHEAP this winter to help low-income families pay their energy or utility bills, or in some cases, to cover the cost of weatherization repairs. The funds will be distributed to states, territories, and tribal governments this week. LIHEAP, established in 1981, is funded by grants approved by Congress. Typical annual funding is somewhere around $3.5 billion. The Associated Press reported, though, last year's allocation amidst the pandemic totaled $8 billion. Families seeking aid from LIHEAP can learn more and apply for assistance, and I will drop that assistance link in the chat for anybody interested. And apply for assistance with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Assistance is distributed through states, territories, or tribal governments, and availability is based on income, family size, and availability of resources. So again, if you're having trouble paying your heating bills or utility bills, this program is designed to help those in need.
I'm sure the family appreciate your community service by posting that link in there.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta get it how we live.
Word up.
All right.
So, men wrongly convicted of Malcolm X murder to receive $36 million. The city of New York has agreed to pay $26 million in lawsuit settlements filed on behalf of two men exonerated last year in the assassination of civil rights leader, the great Malcolm X. Their attorney said Sunday. The big picture. The state of New York will pay out a further $10 million over the 1966 conviction of Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam, who spent decades in prison, said their attorney David Shanies. Aziz was paroled in 1985 and Islam was released from prison in 1987. Islam died in 2009. A New York City Law Department spokesperson said in a statement that the settlement would be divided equally between 84-year-old Aziz and the estate of Islam, according to the New York Times. What they are saying, Muhammad Aziz, Khalil Islam, and their families suffer because of these unjust convictions for more than 50 years, Shani said in a statement. The city recognized the great injustices done here, and I commend the sincerity and speed with which the Comptroller's Office and the Corporation Counsel moved to resolve the lawsuits. Nick Paolucci, the New York City Law Department spokesperson, said the settlement brings some measure of justice to individuals who spent decades in prison and bore the stigma of being falsely accused of murdering an iconic figure, the New York Times reports. Bottom line, based on a review, the office stands by the opinion of former Manhattan District Attorney Vance, who stated, based on his investigation, that there is one ultimate conclusion. Mr. Aziz and Mr. Islam were wrongfully convicted of this crime, Paolucci added.
Well, that's the very least they can do. And how many ways is this $36 million being split up?
Well, it looks like it's going to, I guess, the brother who's still living in, is that 50? So I think it's 50 going, I gotta read again. Taziz and the state of Khalil Islam.
Okay.
The crazy thing though about this story, and shout out to the great ancestor Malcolm X, is like, according to like reports and stories, like there are people who shot, you know, in the I think they're in the hotel or something like that, like were there shooting at Malcolm, right, at the brother, the great ancestor. So I'm like, shouldn't you have eyewitnesses there? Like, I'm just confused.
Right. I mean, the whole thing was suspect. I mean, the stories that I read where like the shots couldn't have come from where they came from because the way the bullets hit, I mean, you just don't even know what to believe. But good thing that he's getting some, restitution for all the time that he's lost. But $36 million, I mean, that's less than Sacramento pays in a year for 1,100 beds for homeless people. When y'all put it in context.
I know, right? And you know, before we go on to the next story, I'm just trying to. I mean, somebody has to know who who really killed, you know, our great ancestor. Like,
don't we kind of know?
I mean, somebody. I mean, if these brothers didn't do it, then like, who did it? Somebody got to know. I mean, I'll need to do my double due diligence, but I don't know.
All right. Well, speaking of wrongful persecution.
All right. I guess that's a cue. Boom. Here we go.
Are you surprised that reaction and some of the things that you did hurt people?
Yeah, I think I can ask a better question. It's just, where were you when I was a kid, figuring out that 300 million of my ancestors are buried in America? Where were you guys asking those same questions when I was a kid, learning about the traumatic events of my familial history and what I'm proud to come from and why I'm proud to stand here and why, when I repeat myself that I'm not going to stand down, it has nothing to do with dismissing any other race or group of people. I'm just proud of my heritage and what we've been through, and the fact that this has pinned me against the Jewish community. And I'm here answering questions of whether or not I'm sorry or not on something I didn't create, and it was something I shared, and I'm telling everybody I'm taking responsibility, then that's where I sit. So, you know, these same questions that you guys ask, me dealing with it as being a melanated, pigmented person all around the world and dealing with racial biases against my skin color, demeaning me because of my religious beliefs, and I'm still sitting in the seat standing. So I take my full responsibility. Again, I'll repeat it, for posting something on my Instagram or Twitter that may have had some unfortunate falsehoods in it. But I also am a human being that's 30 years old, and I've been growing up in a country that's told me that I wasn't worth anything, and I came from a slave class, and I come from a people that are meant to be treated the way we get treated every day. So I'm not here to compare anyone's atrocities or tragic events that their families have dealt with generations of time. I'm just here to continue to expose things that our world continues to put in darkness. I'm a light. I'm a beacon of light. That's what I'm here to do. You guys ask me questions about basketball, I give you my expert opinion. You guys ask me about other things, I give you my opinion, and it's met with whatever you believe the perception or the deception is. You guys investigate my life every day, and you justify it by serving your own purpose, which I honor. I would like the same respect in return, figuring out just like anyone else. So please keep that same energy when we're talking about anti-other things, because just because I post a documentary doesn't mean I'm anti-Semitic, and doesn't mean that I'm automatically standing with everyone that is believing in that. So it's unfortunate timing that we're in, but I'm glad that I could stand on the truth, because I'm not afraid of these mics, these cameras. I used to be looking everyone in the eye and telling them the truth. that I'm proud of who I am. Any label that you put on me, I'm able to dismiss because I study. I know the Oxford Dictionary, you look it up, right? One of the biggest mistakes I had in being a kid was not knowing European or Western language until I started looking it up and understanding the definitions and why they say, if you want to trick a black person, put it in a book. I was wondering my whole life why they said that. Now I'm 30 years old and I know reading is a superpower because it helps me understand where I'm going and where I come from, like a tree with roots.
Well, yeah, he said, you know, it was a mistake, you know, but brother, it's not a mistake. We're not taught about history, you know, especially, you know, African history, the original people on the planet. That's not even what, you know, I'm claiming. That's just facts, right? That's what scholars and researchers and other scientists say, that, you know, humanity came from and out of Africa. So I don't even know what, you know, people tripping off of, brother, but, you know, our history is definitely hidden.
Yeah, not only hidden history, but I mean, you have to take into account that our ancestors were forbidden from even being able to read, from being educated. So when he says that reading is a superpower, I mean, that's why they held that from us, the education from us, for so long. So I'm sure everybody knows what's going on with the Kyrie Irving story here. He posted on Twitter just a link to a movie called From Hebrews to Negroes. And this movie is on Prime, Amazon Prime, being distributed, and they're making a bunch of money off of it now that people have caught wind of it. So they're just raking in the bucks. But Jeff Bezos is not being persecuted for his role in distribution of the movie. And all Kyrie did was share the link. It's not like he even added any context to it. But they put him through the ringer, just like they did Kanye with their anti-Semitism accusations. So he did end up taking down the tweet ultimately. And he even tried to put out a donation, according to these Twitter posts, to a Jewish organization. Let's read some of the posts, what they had to say. Kyrie was bullied, extorted into giving $500K to the ADL because he shared on Twitter, a public platform, a link to a doc. He watched a documentary on Amazon, a public platform. So, you know, why is he being persecuted and not Jeff Bezos? Another tweet here says a ADL CEO, Jonathan Greenblatt, says ADL is not accepting Kyrie Irving's $500K donation. We are optimistic. We were optimistic, but after watching the debacle of a press conference, and I believe he's referring to the clip we just watched, the debacle of a press conference, it's clear that Kyrie feels no accountability for his actions, and ADL cannot in good conscience accept the donation. All right. Then we have our boy Naheem here from BTP, Be the Power, also in this tweet thread. First, they get you to pay to some of the richest people in the world. Then they parade you around like a cuck on a leash. Kyrie Irving says he meant no harm towards Jewish community, announces a $500K donation. Okay, and let's see one more. My goodness, the Anti-Defamation League, that's what ADL stands for, will not accept Kyrie Irving's $500K donation due to a lack of apology in today's press conference. So, I mean, you can't win for losing.
Nope. So speaking of can't win for losing, black men say they feel ignored by politicians. A historic Senate face-off between two black, and I don't know what's the next words there, but we're going to continue. Aaron Bethia says he has voted election after election for U.S. presidents, governors, and senators, and yet those lawmakers have done little to nothing to improve life for him, his family, or his community. Boom. Bethia said he believes the issues he cares about, financial freedom and equal investment in predominantly black schools, have largely been ignored. Where we are from, nobody really cares about what black men think, said Bethia in Atlanta, father of 6, who owns a wholesale company that sells televisions. They don't do anything for us. Bethia 40 said he still plans to vote Democrat in Georgia's hotly contested gubernatorial and U.S. Senate races, but he's not voting with enthusiasm. He said he is hoping that one day someone will prioritize the needs of black men. Bethia is not alone. Political analysts, researchers, and black male leaders say politicians are failing to reach some black men with messaging that resonates with them and visibility in their communities. Those shortcomings could particularly hurt Democrats in the upcoming midterms, given black men are the second most loyal voting bloc for the party next to black women, experts say. And while black men have increasingly supported Republicans in recent years, some say the GOP is still missing the mark. Many black men say they are concerned that Georgia Republican Senate candidate Herschel Walker does not represent them in a positive light, given his many public gaffes, history of domestic violence, and being an absentee father.
Yeah, he's definitely between a rock and a hard place. But I think as I remember when we did the midterm madness, there is like a libertarian option on that ticket. I would probably have to go with that, right?
Word.
Mm-hmm. All right, what else we got going on here? How documentary style film turned conspiracy theories into a call to action. In Georgia this summer, a fake wanted poster falsely identified a woman as a so-called ballot mule. In Arizona, voters dropping off their ballots complained about being photographed and filmed, in some cases by people carrying weapons. The incident appeared inspired by a film, 2000 Mules, that spins a wild tale of how the 2020 election was supposedly stolen from Donald Trump. At its heart is a conspiracy theory claiming Democratic groups are colluding with paid operatives, the titular mules, to stuff ballot drop boxes with fraudulent votes. There's no evidence of any of this. The film, which is directed by White Ring commenter Dinesh D'Souza, and relies on data and analysis from controversial election group True the Vote, has been thoroughly and repeatedly debunked by fact checkers and rejected by law enforcement. But the film is the latest in a long line of movies that use the tropes and signifiers of documentaries to gain credibility. In recent years, documentary-style film about the 2020 election, the C-19 pandemic, and vaccines have spread conspiracy theories and recycled debunked lies. You know, I tried to watch this documentary, but they actually censored it. I mean, it was playing on a couple of streaming platforms, and they both just took it down, censored it without any explanation. So, I mean, why all the suppression?
Great question.
Speaking of suppression.
Yep. California doctors sued Governor Newsom and medical board over new law censoring medical advice. Attorneys say AB 2098 or 2098 is unconstitutional in violation of First and 14th Amendments. California surgeon Dr. Peter Mazuleski says the purpose of Assembly Bill 2098 by Assemblyman Evan Lowe is to circumvent due process against doctors over C information conduct. AB 2098 will punish physicians and surgeons for unprofessional conduct for advocating for the potential benefits of early treatment with off-label drugs, or those who dare to ask questions about vaccine safety. Governor Gavin Newsom signed AB 2098 into law. Now, the new Civil Liberties Alliance, a nonpartisan, non-profit civil rights group, and attorney Laura Powell has filed a complaint in motion for a preliminary injunction on behalf of the California doctors in Hogue et al. Versus Newsom et al., asking the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of California to prevent AB 2098 from going into effect. Under AB 209, doctors would be subject to disciplinary actions by the Medical Board of California and the Osteopathic Medical Board of California if they do not adhere to the approved C treatment consensus. Who approves the consensus? Dr. Pete wants to know. The medical board, public health officials, neither the members of the medical board nor all of California's public health officials are licensed medical doctors. California Medical's board is currently made up of 12 individuals, 6 medical doctors, 3 attorneys, a public relations consultant, an ethics reformer, and a life coach. And a life coach.
Yeah, and I think that's ethics, not ethnic.
Did I say ethnics reformer?
That's what it sounded like.
Oh, okay, my bad. Ethics reformer. What is at stake? NCLA represents 5 physicians licensed by the Medical Board of California, MBC, most of whom treat patients on a regular basis. I think it's his doctors, Hoeg Duracetti, Karati Mazlowski, and Katibi allege Assembly Bill AB 2098, signed into law on September 30th, 2022, violates their First Amendment rights to free speech and their 14th Amendment rights to due process of law. Yeah, it's interesting how, they're using the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, which was at one point was specifically made for freedmen. But anyway, I digress. The NCLA said in a statement, the law not only interferes with the ability of doctors and their patients to freely communicate, but it has already been used as a weapon to intimidate and punish doctors who dissent from mainstream views. Several plaintiffs have experienced threats from other doctors and individuals on social media to use AB 2098 to have their licenses taken away, an obvious attempt to suppress the doctor's speech. They are being put between a rock and a hard place, fearing repercussions for acting in their patients' best interest by honestly giving them the information they believe their patients need in order to make informed care decisions.
Yeah, sounds like this can get convoluted.
If not already.
Yeah, if it can get any more convoluted than it already is. Let's see here. We had some Supreme Court hearings this week on affirmative action. Let's take a quick recap on what Justice Jackson had to say. Crucial argument about affirmative action. The court's newest member wanted to know what fairness looks like if you take race out of the equation. Yesterday, an hour and a half into the marathon hearings about whether colleges can use race as a factor in admissions decisions, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson began to rub her temples as she looked down at her notes. We're entertaining a rule where some people can say what they want about who they are and have that valued in a system, she said. And I'm worried that creates an inequity in the system with respect to being able to express our identity. Black and Latino applicants would be limited if they can't express their race in the selection process, she said. She almost laughed with exasperation. Is this a crazy worry, or is this something I should be thinking about and concerned about? In previous arguments this term, Jackson was a forceful voice on issues of racial discrimination and the intent of the constitutional amendments, those amendments that you're talking about again, 13, 14, and 15, designed to protect against it. For many, in favor of race-conscious admissions. She has been a welcome presence on the court, asking, in a way, the question at the center of the cases. Have less than 50 years of affirmative action put enough of a dent in the inequality fostered over more than 2 centuries of racial discrimination in higher education to merit eliminating the practice? For roughly 5 hours, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in cases of students for fair admissions, a coalition of unnamed Asian American students brought together by the conservative legal strategist Edward Blum against the University of North Carolina and Harvard. If the cases are successful and the justices side with SFFA, which a majority of the justices seemed quite open to in their questioning yesterday, the decision would overturn the precedent established in Regents of University of California versus Bake in 1978, which has been upheld for more than 40 years. Because of her previous tenure on Harvard's Board of Overseers, Jackson recused herself from the Harvard case and sat for only the UNC case, but she did not waste the time she had. I think we have a clip. Let's see what she had to say in her short amount of time.
And so what I'm worried about is that the rule that you're advocating, that in the context of a holistic review process, the university can take into account and value all of the other background and personal characteristics of other applicants, but they can't value race. What I'm worried about is that that seems to me to have the potential of causing more of an equal protection problem than it's actually solving. And the reason why I get to that possible conclusion is thinking about 2 applicants who would like to have their family backgrounds credited in this applications process, and I'm hoping to get your reaction to this hypothetical. The first applicant says, I'm from North Carolina. My family has been in this area for generations, since before the Civil War, and I would like you to know that I will be the 5th generation to graduate from the University of North Carolina. I now have that opportunity to do that, and given my family background, it's important to me that I get to attend this university. I want to honor my family's legacy by going to this school. The second applicant says, I'm from North Carolina. My family's been in this area for generations, since before the Civil War, but they were slaves and never had a chance to attend this venerable institution. As an African American, I now have that opportunity, and given my family background, it's important to me to attend this university. I want to honor my family legacy by going to this school. Now, as I understand your no race conscious admissions rule, these 2 applicants would have a dramatically different opportunity to tell their family stories and to have them count. The first applicant would be able to have his family background considered and valued by the institution as a part of its consideration of whether or not to admit him, while the second one wouldn't be able to, because his story is in many ways bound up with his race and with the race of his ancestors. So I want to know, based on how your rule would likely play out in scenarios like that, why excluding consideration of race in a situation in which the person is not saying that his race is something that has impacted him in a negative way. He just wants to have it honored, just like the other person has their personal background, family story honored. Why is telling him no not an equal protection violation?
So I haven't seen anything on the outcome of these hearings yet. I'll definitely have to look into that. But I mean, I didn't hear anything about race in that excerpt.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, right now it's just, these are all opinion arguments. So until, the Supreme Court actually has a ruling on this affirmative action,
I mean, is that really going to make a difference at the end of the day, whatever the Supreme Court rules on this matter? I mean, is saying that your family came from slavery race-based?
I mean, well, if you're asking me personally, then it's definitely lineage based.
Yeah.
I don't know about us, like, for sure. I mean, but you could still make the argument it's race based too, because there was a specific group of people based on a specific race that they did target, but it's definitely, I would say, lineage first.
Yeah.
Because there was a specific,
lineage has to, hold a higher weight in this.
Yeah, because it wasn't. Yeah.
Okay, so
absolutely.
we agree.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there wasn't any specific. I mean, it wasn't. It was a specific group, right, that was harmed. So. Yeah.
I mean, this all is going to come to play, I'm sure, in this fight that we're in for reparations. So,
oh yeah, it's definitely going to be a battleground. This is already a precursor for, what we're looking at.
Right. So now they're trying to say that slavery, or identifying as, your ancestors as being enslaved, automatically equates to race, which would get the claim thrown out on race-based biases.
Yeah, I mean, if for example, Judge or Justice Jackson was to use that as an argument, yeah, I mean, it would evoke the 13th, 14th, and 15th. But if you're just basing it on harming those particular individuals through lineage, then that argument stands.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Have to see. It's very nuanced discussion. Definitely, ETM is going to stay on top of all these developments, especially how it relates to our reparations fight for restorative justice. So just stay tuned.
Facts. And she did mention Friedman in one of her, I don't know if it was in the same opinion that she had, but I know she did mention Friedman in there, so she definitely is familiar with Friedman.
She did. I mean, we're going to have to go back and listen to it. I mean, we might need to do unpack and do a whole show on these affirmative action hearing breakdowns. Like they said, it's a marathon. I think one day was 5 hours, so we're really going to have to buckle in to figure this out. But yeah. So they did bring up Friedman in some of these arguments, but they were saying that the Friedmans also, there were refugees mentioned in the Friedman. So what does that mean? Does that throw a new wrinkle into the American Freedman identity or status?
It could. I mean, unless you're going to make the argument that which freedmen are you talking about? Are you talking about the ones who were chattel slavery? Or are you talking about refugees? Right? So.
Well, I mean, we did read when we did our, OMB presentation, we read some definitions, one of which was freedmen, and they were identified as formerly enslaved, newly emancipated, formerly enslaved. So, I mean, those refugees would not fit under that definition just based on the definition.
Well, there you go.
All right.
So I think that's about it, right?
That's in the news.
All right, family. So you guys have a good one, and we'll see you when we see you.
The way it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way, while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but free people, look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay? You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations, allows for the construction of these policies and practices and systems and structures that continue to oppress us. This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of his time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million, and then of that, the descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I got to show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR roof, don't tune in.